Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our New Year calendars franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, we made a little bit of adjustments, but we are now 34, 20, and 8, and I think we're definitely going to be making the playoffs. Obviously, the question will be how long are we going to actually be in the playoffs for? So we might make some adjustments just to kind of make ourselves better suited for the playoffs. But you can see right now at the moment, we are currently first place in the Metropolitan Division, only by 1 point with the same amount of games as the Devils. Now, what's interesting is the wildcard has 75 points, which is a little bit less than us. So technically, we could still fall out of a playoff mix, but it's not going to likely happen just because our division is quite weak by comparison to the Atlantic Division. So I think we should probably easily make it into the postseason. And you can see at the moment we are the 10th best goal scoring team, so our offense is much better from last year. Defense is still great, just like it was last year. Our power play is second best in the league too, so we have been getting our special teams going. And our PK has been steadily improving since like last episode or 2 episodes ago. We're at 18th in the league, so obviously our penalty kill is still the current problem on the team at the moment, but everything else has been pretty damn good up to this point. So yeah, I'm very excited just to see how this team ends up finishing off this regular season, and obviously, hopefully we have a good playoff run once we get there. But first and foremost, let's get into your guys' comments and see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will probably make some adjustments, like maybe a bit of adjustments, depending if we could find something that actually suits our need, and then we'll simulate the rest of the season. So the first 2 comments are from James Blum. The first one says, if Barry Trotz was willing to take on Vetrano for a year or Duclair, then I would go with Gus Bus Nyquist as a top 6 upgrade. So he thinks I should bring in somebody like Gustav Nyquist to this team, which, I mean, Gustav Nyquist is a decent addition. If we look at the trading block, if I remember where this is, oh yeah, it's right here. Gustav Nyquist is definitely a solid forward upgrade. The only thing right now is we have a lot of guys that are similar overalls, so I don't really know where I would slot him in. He is a playmaker, which is a bit different than from other wingers we have on our team, which are more like shooting oriented. But Gus Nyquist has been good in Nashville so far, 36 points. Last year he had 55 points. Not doing as well this season, I would say, than last year. He is already 36 years old, so likely there's a chance he could be retiring relatively soon too. This is a second line forward, which on that point, I don't know where I would slot him into the top 6, because we'd have to probably think about moving out Duclair and then getting in Nyquist as a replacement, which honestly I don't see as a huge upgrade technically right now. Duclair still has his no movement clause or no trade clause, one of the two. So at the moment, we probably would have to try and get him to waive if we wanted to upgrade into Nyquist, which I don't know if Nyquist really, like I said, is that much of an upgrade right now. So I don't know if we for sure will go after somebody like Gus Nyquist, but he is definitely a decent player. James also says, you also have a chance of doing the funniest thing of all time by bringing Kreider 20 miles east, and I'm not going to do that just because Rangers fans would probably have me on a guillotine and beheaded, because, I don't know, Chris Kreider on the Islanders just it screams really crazy. It seems really weird. It's like, for me, like, as a Sens fan, if, like, one of my favorite players was on the Leafs, for instance, or on the Habs, I'd absolutely not like that. So I just don't want to do this and piss off Rangers fans, as funny as it would be. I just don't know if Chris Kreider's really something we even need to be honest. Like, he is a power forward, he is a good point producer, but he is also pretty old at this stage, and he is also signed for 2 years, so I just would prefer if he does get dealt, he gets dealt to somewhere else other than us. Like, if he goes back to Boston, that would actually be kind of interesting, because I think if I remember right, he did play at Boston College, so I prefer, like, the Boston Bruins to acquire him rather than us. The next comment is from Canadian Eagles, who says, a few of my favorite trade ideas. 1, acquire Jake Evans and Oliver Shillington from Montreal. Offers bottom 6 and bottom pairing depth. Gets some offensive firepower on the defense. Wouldn't be a bad move for the right price. Could bump Wallstrom out, but because he isn't cutting it. Number 2, acquire Zach Whitecloud and Christian Fischer from Vegas. Pretty much the same as Montreal deal, but you get winger depth instead. Bump Wallstrom out of the lineup because, as I said, he isn't cutting it. Number 3, acquired Daniel Sprong from Utah, a great depth scorer. Might be a tad pricey, but a great addition to the bottom 6 in addition to one of the top 2 moves. Number 4, acquired Tyler Mott from Columbus, a really good penalty kill option to add to the bottom 6. A nice speedy guy too, a chippy player you could get for cheap. I don't think you need to go heavy in the trades this deadline. You have the pieces, just a couple small trades to strengthen the depth, in my opinion. If you work one of the top 2 trades, with one of the bottom two, you'll have a primed team for the playoffs. And I have to say, I criticized you for having a half in, half out during the offseason, but you've built a really nice team. Well done. And I appreciate that. I think what I'm leaning towards, I'm not sure if I'm going to make any of those suggestions you made. We are probably going to look at upgrading the penalty kill. That's something I want to probably target, is find somebody that can work out our penalty kills. So maybe Tyler Mott is that guy to help us out with our PK unit. He is a grinder, which is interesting. I wasn't expecting him to be a grinder. But yeah, maybe he's the type of guy that we could bring in for the PK because he does actually fit the coach's scheme. So we are going to probably look at least a good penalty killer to help out this team, because obviously our penalty kills are a weak point at this time. But those other additions that you were mentioning are interesting. I just don't really know if I could find a way to slot them into our lineup. Like, I feel like we might have too much people at that stage, and maybe it'd be a little bit overkill where the simulation engine decides just to make us say like a first round exit instead. Like, maybe we'd just be too built up. The next comment is from Saturn Otaku, who says, team's looking good, don't think you need to make any trades, but I agree Craig Smith should be back in the lineup. I have a feeling Lou would be tripping over himself to bring in Branson, then sign him to a 4x4 with a full new movement clause, and that's funny. Yeah, so, yeah, obviously we're not going to go for somebody like Eric Branson, but Lou Lamoriello probably would have been all over Eric Branson because of his size. Yeah, I could definitely see Lou Lamoriello going for somebody like him, but obviously that's not the type of team we're trying to build up here. But he was mentioning about getting Craig Smith back into the lineup as well, and I think that's definitely what we're going to be leaning towards doing, just because of the roles at the moment. Craig Smith is losing morale because he's not playing. Wallstrom hasn't been doing enough offensively. Like, he has a good plus-minus at a +8, but he's only got the 10 points in 41 games, so I am going to take him back out of the lineup, and Craig Smith will come back in just to help us out again with that defensive play going forward for the rest of the season, and also in the playoffs, so we could always make some more adjustments accordingly, but that's the one lineup adjustment we're going to make at least, unless we make some trades as well. The next comment is from Dylan Burrows, who says, Nyquist or Carlson for Lee, might have to throw in a first or second. You got to go. Don't want to be a first-round exit. Getting the 24th pick in this year's draft won't win you a cup next year, but one of those guys might. Wilson also might be fun, but his value might be too high. And I don't know about bringing in, really, honestly, somebody like Nyquist or Carlson, because Carlson, for instance, he would be a good center to have, but we already have good centers. So, to be honest, Carlson, I don't see as much of a fit here, because we have already that good center depth. Nyquist being a right-wing, left-wing playmaker, technically we would have to move down Anton Ferndell. I know you're saying to get rid of Anders Lee. Well, Anders Lee still has that modified no-trade clause, and he actually does not want to go to the Nashville Predators. He also does not want to go to Vegas, so we can't move Anders Lee for either of those players. So basically, I'd prefer probably to hold on to Anders Lee for the season. He hasn't been super good so far this year, 31 points. He is on pace for a better year than last year, but I just don't see the right move to move him and get him down to a third-line role, or to actually just move him out completely. There's also like the chance we could move somebody like Duclair, who has been struggling at times, but he's also got his no-trade clause, so he would have to waive it in order for us to move it, and that's also going to be tough. Frank Vitrano has no clause, so he'd probably be the easiest to move out of the bunch. However, we just brought him in last year. I think it's a little bit unrealistic to trade a guy really like a year after you basically brought him in. So I think in general, there's not really much we could do here. Like, technically, Oliver Bjorkstrand is the Nyquist we wanted to bring in, but more of a goal-scoring version. So I don't think Nyquist makes sense, and I don't think we have really the room for William Karlsson just because of the amount of clauses we have and also the salary cap situation we have with this team. And the next comment is from Michael Dose, who says, I think with the cap constraints this team has, trading for someone right now isn't necessary as playoffs are looking like you will make it. And yeah, I agree for the most part. I think if we can't find ourselves a good penalty kill specialist, that I will probably look to not doing much moves just because this team is doing good as they are. We also do have very good depth on our forward core, good depth on defense. Our goaltending is solid, so I don't think there's really much moves we can make unless we find that one upgrade that we've been looking for. And the last and final comment is from Shankly Mania, who says, I'd only look for a PK specialist as your stats are bad in that department. Maybe someone with high face-offs attributes. Otherwise, the team's is doing well, and cap issues are limiting bigger moves. If Sorokin plays decent, you can actually go long into the postseason. And yeah, it's true. If Sorokin plays good during the playoffs, we definitely could go far, because obviously he's one of the best goalies in the league at this point in time. And yeah, basically with the cap situation, it does like kind of limit us what we could do at this trade deadline in terms of movement. So let's take a look actually at the player search function here and see if we could find some good defensive players that might work on our PK here. So we are going to go, let's just go any positions, or let's just go forwards. I don't know why it keeps, why does it keep going back to the top when you change this? That's kind of strange. I don't know if it always did that. Maybe it's a bug. I haven't used this function yet in this game, so we'll go forward, and we are going to go with, obviously, let's see, go down here to this. Let's go with a 1 year left contract, maybe, just because I don't want anybody on short-term deals. So let's just go 1 max contract, or actually, we could go with 2 on the most. And then we're gonna go to here to defense and get this up to like at least 4 stars. And then ratings, we are going to, why does it go back up? Yeah, I definitely think that's a bug right now. We are going to go, his rating is going to be, we want to have it somebody on defensive awareness with good defensive awareness, good face-off stats. So minimum defensive awareness of, let's say, an 85. Might be a bit high, but we got to strive for the moon here. Minimum rating 85, max 99. Yeah, see, why does it go back up like that? That's kind of annoying. I should probably mention that to the devs or something like that, just in case that is a bug. And then in terms of face-offs, we want to have their face-off rating be decent as well, so at least probably a 78, I'd say. 78 to 99. So that way we could find somebody that has good defensive awareness and good face-off stats, and that might be on the last years of their contract. So that way we could see if we could find somebody that might work for our team here. Obviously, Connor McDavid's not that good defensively, to be honest. I don't know why he's still good defensively, but let's see what we got here. McDavid already has an extension in place. That's good to see. Nico Hischier with 2 years left doesn't make sense. Most of these guys have clauses here. For ones that don't, Jamie Benn, 36 years old. How good is Jamie Benn? He's got 86 faceoffs. Damn, he's actually really good on the draw. Not sure if he's actually going to fit our PK or not. Scott Lawton. Is Philadelphia in a playoff spot? Probably not based on that plus minus. It doesn't look like he fits our PK necessarily, but he might. Scott Lawton actually could be like a perfect fit kind of idea, because he does basically fit our salary cap situation, I think, a bit. I'm not too sure. We might come back to Scott Lawton, and he's only signed for the 1 year. Ryan O'Reilly's got 2 years, so I'm not too sure on that. Svechkov. Wow, why does Fedor Svechkov have good defense? Interesting. I didn't think this guy was a defensive player, but he is a two-way forward. Okay. Gigi Pajot on our team, of course. Lars Eller's got multiple years. Adam Henrique with 1 year left. Where's he again? Ooh, in Chicago, and he's not doing too well defensively. Ooh, he does fit our PK. Okay, Adam Henrique might be interesting, and he should fit our cap space situation. So, Henrique and Lawton are kind of the interesting ones right now. I actually could probably write this stuff down, so that way I could come back to them. So, let's say Chicago, and let's write down Adam Henrique. Just so we can kind of see what it would cost to get these type of guys. Like, I don't know if they're going to be huge upgrades if we do bring them in. But I just want to see if we could make our penalty kill a little bit stronger. If we don't, it isn't the end of the world. Michael Backlund with 1 year left. Does he have an extension in place? No, he does not. So that's good. Let's take a look at his stuff here. Good defense again. Doesn't fit our PK or anything, apparently. So he probably wouldn't be a good fit, unfortunately. I do like Backlund a lot, but... what else we got here? Jordan Stahl, Colton Sissons. How much years do you guys have? Colton Sissons has 1 year. Does he fit the PK? No guarantees on that. Jordan Stahl has multiple years. Trevor Lewis is too old. All right, so we'll take a look at Henrique and Lawton just to see if we could maybe bring one of those guys in. I don't really know if they're going to be important fits to this team, though. Like, we'd have to probably move somebody like Pajot down to a fourth line role. In this type of deal, it wouldn't make sense. I don't know if it makes sense even to upgrade our centers that much. Because even if we want a good like penalty kill specialist, like we have Pajot, who's basically just as good as these guys. Cizikas is also as good as these guys, but he's also got 1 extra year. I mean, Cizikas has been good for us this season, so I don't know about moving him out. And obviously Brock Nelson's good too. We could always move Brock Nelson over to the left wing, and then Anders Lee could go back down to the third line. Frundell could go back to the fourth line, but you guys wanted me to give Frundell more ice time. It might be tough to fit these guys into our roster at the moment. Like, if we are to basically make a move for Lawton or Henrique, we probably have to move out somebody. Or we'd probably have to, like, yeah, I would say we'd probably have to move out somebody in the top 9 to do this type of deal. So, I don't know if we're going to actually make any trades, but we're going to take a look at it anyways just to see if there's anything that actually could work for our team here. So, let's go to Philadelphia first, who are actually playing soon. So, that's kind of funny. They are not in a playoff spot at the moment. But if we go down here to, it was Lawton. They don't have Lawton on the block currently, which is kind of interesting. What would they want for people like Scott Lawton? Not really anybody on our forward group. Goalies, they would want the elite goalie prospect, but I'm not moving him out. Not just yet, at least. And then we don't really have a lot of picks. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work really for somebody like Scott Lawton. And if we go to Chicago for Adam Henrique, who's had a little bit of a tough time in Chicago so far, it looks like. Let's take a look at what it would cost for Adam Henrique. Henrique is on the block too, which makes it a little bit more realistic, which is good. In terms of people they actually want, they do want roster players, which is interesting. They do have interest in Duclair, and I could always move like around the ringers a bit. I don't think I could get Duclair to waive to go to Chicago, though. They do have some interest in prospects, goalies as well, picks. We might be able to swing a deal for Henrique, but I'm trying to think logically if this is even that much of an upgrade for our PK. Because he's pretty much just a little tiny bit better than Pajot is. And we technically already have really good center depth. Like, if we brought him in, our centers would be Horvat. Nelson would be moved probably to the left side. Anders Lee would get moved down, which means the youngster in Frundell would get moved down to the fourth line probably because of that. And then we'd probably have to... Yeah, we'd probably have to play Henrique as a second line center, which I don't think I want to do that. Like, basically, in order to get Henrique, I'd say we'd have to move probably, like, Casey Cizikas to get him. So we basically get a guy with 1 year left instead of 2 years left. I don't think it's a huge upgrade, though, to be honest. Like, if you look at the defense, Casey Cizikas is pretty much just as good with worse face-offs. So I don't think we're going to make any deals. As much as it would be nice to make a trade to help out that penalty kill, I think maybe just restructuring it a bit would work. So we are going to go back to editing lines here and go to our penalty kill and maybe make some adjustments there. But I think, to be honest, we're just going to keep the team the same. Some of you guys might be mad about that because we might not go far in the playoffs, but I think this is a good team, and we should be able to go far with some people like Bjorkstrand on the team and all that stuff. Obviously, in the offseason, we can make a lot more adjustments as needed. The main reason I just don't want to do a deal is because I don't want to move Frundell, I don't think, down to the fourth line role. So let's go to power play here. Actually, not power play, penalty kill. Horvat and Frundell, I still like this first unit. I think it works well. Pellick apparently doesn't fit the PK, which is kind of weird. But that's okay. It's still a +5. The second unit's a +4 with Craig Smith being back. I guess that's where Wallstrom was. Mayfield doesn't fit the PK that well. And then this third unit has Cizikas and Holmstrom, who both apparently don't fit. Maybe it's this unit that's having the issues. I do like Holmstrom on the PK, though. That's the only thing. And I do like Cizikas on the PK, too. What if I swapped like Cizikas and Pajot? Would that help anything? I don't think so. Probably not. Let's just do any random little flip like this and see if that helps anything. It might not help anything whatsoever, but it's good just to make a little bit of an adjustment, at least. +2, even 0, even 0. I'm surprised Bo Horvat's not on this first one. Let's put Horvat on this first one instead of Pajot, just to get our best player out there at that time. I think our penalty kill will improve still. It's been improving as the season's gone on. But yeah, let's go something like that, I guess. So I think that's the only thing we could really do. We could technically upgrade our top 6 defensive pairing, and that's technically what like Canadian Eagles was mentioning about, like bringing in guys like Shillington or Zach Whitecloud. I don't think it's a necessary thing just because we would have 2 DFDs in this spot if that's the case. Yeah, I think that's probably why there's a negative chemistry, just because they're both DFDs. So hypothetically, we'd need a 2-way left-handed defenseman. Bolduc would complain about his ice time if he was to be scratched. So I think we're going to keep this team the same. Obviously, I'll hop into the trade deadline just in case because they have fixed it since. So I'll hop into it and see if there's anything out there in terms of the best players out there. But I think this team's going to literally just stay the same because at this point, I don't see a move that's actually worthwhile making. So let's advance today and get into this trade deadline. We're going to go in as a buyer, and let's just see what there is in terms of the best names at the trade deadline this season. So Trocheck, Dunn, Shea, Kreider, none of those guys are people I need really. Thomas Hurdle. Eli Tolvanen with 1 year left is kind of interesting. Apparently we're interested in him, which I never even said I was, but I don't really need another top 6 sniper, but he would be good for our offense for sure. Also, Tommy Novak. He is kind of an interesting player, Tommy Novak, for our PK. He is a good upgrade, but at the same time, I don't really know where I could slot him in. They want a first-round draft pick for him, which is something I'm not willing to give up for sure. Seattle's already just traded Adam Larson to Minnesota, so Seattle's offloading a lot. William Karlsson obviously still in the block. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, or UPL I should just call him. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything I'm going to want to bring in here, or that's going to be worthwhile for our team. Like, I think we already have a deep enough roster, so I am not going to make a single trade, and I know I'm going to get called out eventually by at least one person, but so be it. I think we're going to be a good enough team. We should at least be able to get to, like, round 2, round 3, I guess. Obviously, the Stanley Cup is the main goal, though. David Gustafsson on waivers. Now, this could be a waiver claim that might be worthwhile. Fourth line forward, power forward, good faceoffs, not the best defense. Does fit our penalty kill, our power play, and our third line. I might as well just claim him for the AHL. Yeah, you know what? He's only 25 years old. He could even be on a roster next season, potentially. Or be like a replacement for somebody at some stage. Yeah, I don't mind David Gustafsson, and we have the cap space. I'm going to claim him. Sure. I will claim him. Did they stay him in the NHL? Yeah, I think I have to actually send him down. Oh, yikes. Yeah, so I claimed him and then sent him in the NHL, so I have to put him back through waivers again? God damn, that sucks. I thought when I was claiming him that he would just go to the minors right away. But, trying to think. I could send down Liam Foudy instead. Would that be an upgrade? Probably. Foudy is still listed as a depth forward, though, so he might not complain as much about ice time. You know what? I'm going to keep David Gustafsson up here. I'm going to send Foudy down. And Foudy didn't get claimed, so there we go. So we did make a little bit of an upgrade without even making a trade. I don't mind that. Obviously, it kind of sucks that Gustafsson's listed as a fourth liner, though, so he might start to complain unless we get him back into the lineup. Like, we could always play him on the left side and then get Holmstrom to his natural wing, and then Craig Smith could be a scratch again at some point. Like, that's something we could do in the playoffs, but for right now, I think obviously sending Liam Foudy down instead is not a bad option. So we are going to take out, let's see, who out of the lineup. Oh, wow. Cole Bardreau is already 32. Jesus. I remember when that guy played a little bit in the NHL. We'll just throw Foudy into his spot. There we go. So a little bit of an upgrade with David Gustafsson as our healthy scratch. I think that's a good little addition. Sneaky addition. Maybe he could help us in the playoffs if we need to make any adjustments to our roster. But let's take a look at the trades that happened at the deadline this season. And then we'll continue to simulate. I know we're already like 25 minutes in and I've barely even simulated. So that's kind of funny. But in terms of trades at the deadline, anything crazy? Ridge to Minnesota. Charlie Lindgren to Detroit. Sonny Milano to Buffalo with Van Riemsdyk and Duhaime. Malcolm Spence goes to Washington. Damn. Martin Feravari to Utah. Marcus Pettersson got dealt from Chicago after he was signed there last offseason to LA. Marc-Andre Fleury going to Columbus. That's a weird one. Max Pacioretty, Tyler Mott going the opposite direction. Vancouver getting Jake Bean and Nil Miro Manov for Lakir Mackey. Damn. Lakir Mackey off to Calgary. That's a pretty big one. I'm surprised that Vancouver offloaded Lakir Mackey. Victor Olofsson off to Tampa Bay. Sounds like a Tampa move. Brandon Saad and Oscar Sundqvist to the Jets. Scott Ratzlaff getting dealt to Nashville. Gus Nyquist got dealt to Buffalo. That's a pretty big addition there for Buffalo. That's a pretty big addition. Morgan Frost and Ryan Donato to Dallas. Carter Hart goes back to Philadelphia. Screw that guy anyways. Adam Larson to Minnesota. Hinostroza and Gravel going to Edmonton from Nashville. All right, so there is that. Let's continue to simulate. And like I said, if Gustafsson starts to lose morale, I might scratch Craig Smith again for a little bit. But we only have 20 games left of the regular season. So let's just hope that we could clinch ourselves that playoff spot. And then who knows what's going to happen in the next few episodes if we could go far or not. But let's see what happens here. We got a game against the Flyers. 7-2 win. Nice win over Boston as well. That's a good way to start off this episode. And then we lose one, but we win the other one. Nice, okay. Still looking good. I think we definitely should be a playoff team at this rate. Because the last team that's not in a playoff spot in our division has 68 points. So we're almost up 20 points on them. So likely the only chance of us missing the playoffs, I think, this year is if we go on like a 15-game losing streak to end the season. Which I honestly don't see happening. Oh, wow. We just lost 9-1 to Buffalo. Maybe we should have brought in Gus Nyquist after that loss. Jesus. But we do win 2 in a row after that, so at least that was a good response from our team. Still a little bit of a weird month, though. We're having a couple games where we're losing a bit more than we need to, and that's why we maybe should have upgraded the third-line center spot, but at the same time, I wasn't expecting this. Pajot has been injured with bruised ribs. He's out till April 23rd, so he will miss some of the playoffs, I believe. Does that put Gustafsson into the lineup out of curiosity? Because that would be good to get Gustafsson some games in before the playoffs. I don't mind that. So it's good that we claimed Gustafsson when we did, maybe. Because I prefer Gustafsson in our lineup over somebody like probably Foodie. So Gustafsson is back into the lineup. We will put him on to... Actually, we'll keep him on that third line for now. Has he played any games with us so far? He has not. So this is going to be his first game with the New York Islanders. I think it was good that we claimed him now that Pajot has gone down. Didn't expect that to happen, so Pajot will be back at some stage. Will he be back for any of the playoffs? Yeah, he's going to miss a bit of the first round, so that's unfortunate. Hopefully we stay healthy as the rest of the season goes on, though, because I wasn't expecting to have any injuries much this season. We lost to the Jets 6-4, so the first game literally that Gustafsson played with us was against his old team. That's actually kind of funny. And then we shut out Dallas 1-0. Not bad. All right, did we clinch a playoff spot? I didn't see if we did or not. No, we have not yet. We're on 90 points now. The last team not in the playoffs is on 79. So we got to be a little bit wary, but I think we're in a good spot. We're 5 points up on the Devils, so let's keep on trucking. We got 3 more games here. Let's see what we do here against Vancouver. 6-3 loss. Game against LA. 4-3 loss. And Rizzy, our coach, wants to start talking, which is interesting. I don't know what he wants to talk about. We set out to make the playoffs, and now we've officially clinched the playoff spot. The team is ready for the challenge ahead. Thank you. Congratulations, coach. That's interesting. That's the first time I think I've made the playoffs in NHL 25, so I wasn't expecting to have a conversation there. But we beat Detroit 5-3. We have clinched the playoff spot, as we know. We got a back-to-back Columbus in Florida. Then we play Tampa, and then we have another back-to-back with Columbus in Florida. That's really weird. Weird scheduling, but we will not ask any questions. The NHL is weird like that sometimes. Oh boy, now Anton Frondell's been injured too with an upper body injury. He will be back, I think, for the start of the playoffs, which is good, but I do not like that we're having these injuries right at the end of the season. That's not great. Yeah, he will be back for the playoffs. That's good. 7-0 win over Tampa Bay. And a couple win and a loss. We finished 45-28-9. Let's actually advance one more day so we can get every other team simulated up as well. As Frondell is returning for the playoffs. That's good. Wallstrom got to play a little bit more games. That's okay. How good was he in that stretch? Didn't have even another point. Of course he didn't. Of course. All right, so that's good. And yeah, we clinched our division with 99 points. Technically, we had the exact same record as the Hurricanes, but we end up winning a division, so that's really nice. That is really nice. All right. So, first and foremost, let's take a look at some team stats and then our player stats. But we have made it to the playoffs for the first time in this series, which is great. Where do I want to go with this? Oh yeah, it's the first thing. I always forget where everything is in this now. So we finished 45, 28, and 9, which has us as, like I said, first place in the Metropolitan Division. The Rangers and the Penguins actually missed the playoffs. Damn, okay. So it's just us, Carolina, and New Jersey from our division. In terms of the entire league, we finished as a top 10 team in the league. 8th in the NHL. I'll take it. I will definitely take it. In terms of goals for per game, we scored 3.43, which was number 9 in the NHL. So, good offense for sure. Top 10 offense. Goals against. We are also top 10 in goals against. So, top 10 in offense, top 10 in defense. Our power play was really good again this season, though. It was tied for 4th, 23.5%. So far, we have a lot of good underlining stats. And our PK went to 81.4%, which... Our penalty kill definitely still wasn't super good on paper. That's definitely our weakness at this stage, but at least it seems to be around mid-table. I'm not too sure exactly where, but hopefully it improves in the playoffs. And then we almost had identical records on home ice and on the road, so that's kind of neat. All right. In terms of player stats, I like to see that Horvat had 93 points. That's nice. Let's see what we got here for production. So in terms of our centers, there's Bo with 93 points and 45 goals. From Bo this season. Obviously good on the face-off dot, probably too, and all that. So, shout out to Bo. His goal was to hit 55% on the face-offs this season, and he hit 57. So, once again, he's going to reach that goal, which is great. He's been definitely worth his money, I'd say, right now. He still has that no-trade clause for one more season, so... At some stage, we could still move on from him, but obviously right now we're trying to win a Stanley Cup. Matt Barzal, 90 points. That's more what I want to see from Matt Barzal, for sure. Because last season he had 53 points, so that's a massive upgrade in point production. Love to see it. Great amount of assists. Brock Nelson on 66 points and 30 goals is fantastic for his age. Definitely liking that a lot too. So those three guys definitely impressed with. Cizikas on 35 points is really good too. I think that's definitely kind of what I need from a bottom six forward is to have more points. And yeah, Casey Cizikas is having a good year. 26 points only last season. Much better plus minus this year too. So shout out to Cizikas. Pajot on 33 points in 72 games. Has missed the last 10 games. Will miss more in the postseason, but he's been good as well. He has been good. So all those guys I'd say I'm impressed with in terms of point production. David Gustafsson now. How good did he do with us since being put in the lineup? 4 points in 10 games. For a waiver claim, I'll say it's not too bad. It's not too bad. -1. Let's actually take a look at his stats over these last few games as well. So, technically with us, his first game with the Islanders was against the Jets, where he was a -2 against his old team, of course. He picked up 2 points against Detroit and 2 points against Columbus in back-to-back games, and then he never picked up any more points after that. But 2 multiple-point games is nice. So, shout out to Gustafsson. I don't know how much in the playoffs he'll play. Obviously, he'll play until Pajot is back, but does give us a bit more depth down the middle. Left wing side of things, Duclair on 54 points, 26 goals. I like it. I like it. It's not as much as I was hoping for, but he definitely stepped it up a lot more since the beginning of the season. Yeah, 54 points, better than last year, more goals than last year, so that's at least good that he's starting to improve. If we look at split stats here, his last 10 games to end the season, he had 7 goals and 11 points. So he definitely is on a little bit of a heater right now. But it seems like later in the season, he was actually pretty good, especially in April and March. February, he was not the best. Same with January. December, he was good. November, not so much. And in October, he was pretty trash. So yeah, hopefully Duclair has a good playoffs ahead of him because that would help out a lot. Anders Lee on 46 points, only 18 goals, but he is in the last year of his contract. Yeah, not too bad of a year for Anders Lee. Not as much goals as last year. A little bit more points, a little bit better plus minus. Did also have a shorthand in goals, so I'll take it from the old guy. And then Anton Frundell, who is back for the playoffs. 33 points in his rookie season and even 0. That's great. That is great. Solid offense, great defense, and he even had 3 shorthanded points. Yeah, I like the way Anton Frundell's starting to play. Almost had as much takeaways as giveaways. He's looking good. He is looking good. And he's actually listed as a checking forward now, a third-line checking forward. He was listed as a depth forward at the start of the season, so he's trending in the right direction. And he'll probably be getting close to being a good replacement for Anders Lee soon, which is nice. Right wing side of things, Bjorkstrand on 75 points. Only 29 goals, so his goal scoring dropped off a bit, but 75 points. He is a pending UFA. I don't know if he'll be able to come back next season. Depends if we can free up the cap space, but that was a really nice addition. And that's the addition that probably helped us into the playoffs in terms because it basically got our top line that offense I've been looking for. So really like the way Bjorkstrand's been playing. His stat challenge was to hit 40 goals, and he didn't achieve it, unfortunately, but he did have a good season nonetheless. Vetrano on 48 points, pretty solid, I'd definitely say. Simon Holmstrom on 34 points. That's actually pretty good. Any shorthanded goals? Yes, 1 shorthanded goal, 2 shorthanded points. Like it. Craig Smith played only half the season, but he had 14 points, which isn't too bad for his age. And Wallstrom had 10 points in 44 games and a +7. I'm liking the way this team's looking in terms of depth scoring. Defensively, Dobson on 61 points, and he is a pending UFA or RFA. I don't even know. It doesn't say on here. He might be still an RFA. Regardless, we're going to have to pay him a ton of money this offseason, so that's probably the number one priority. I don't know if we'll be able to get back Bjorkstrand because of Dobson, but we have to find a way to free up some cap space probably to sign some of these guys back. Pellick on 29 points +30, great. Pollock on 27 points +16, pretty solid too. Romanov 17 points +5, not too bad. Good season, I'd say, from Sam Bolduc, 15 points and a +10, and in Mayfield on 9 points +5. So, in general, pretty happy with the defense, I'd say. And in our goaltending, Sorokin on a 909, 29, 24, and 6. Not the best record. 4 shutouts in a 2.9 goals against. And then you had Semyon Varlamov, who arguably was the better goaltender. He had a good record, 16, 5, and 3. 1 shutout and 916 save percentage in a 2.64 goals against. So, we will be starting Sorokin in the playoffs, of course, but Varlamov could get a chance depending on how Sorokin does in those early games. All right, take a look at stats around the league now. Who led the league in points? Nathan MacKinnon with 127 points. Jesus. Austin Matthews had 124. McDavid 123. A lot of other guys over 110 points too, and then you had some guys just over 100. Most goals this season is going to be McKinnon and Matthews, both with 68 goals. Caulfield was the only other one that hit 50 goals, so a little bit lower scoring than you would expect, but McKinnon and Matthews went off this year for sure. So there is that. In terms of Selke candidates this season, any interesting names? Sebastian Aho maybe. Sidney Crosby's probably going to win it though. 59.5% of the draw in over 150 takeaways. Yeah, I'd likely say Sid. Obviously, Anze Kopitar could be up there too, but I think Sid's going to win the Selke this season. In terms of best defenseman, what do we got? Quinn Hughes, 98 points. Cale Makar with 96 right behind him. Damn. And then it's Adam Fox, Roman Josi. The type of guys you'd expect to be up there. Lane Hudson's already breaking out for Montreal. I know Montreal fans like this guy a lot. Probably a lot of head fakes in those goals and points, but 68 points for him this season. In terms of goalies, the most wins was Georgiev with 46, and then you had Skinner with 45. Most shutouts by a starter was Joseph Woll with 6. Best save percentage by a starter is looking like Samuel Montembeault with a 919. You also had Elvis with a 918 through 60 games. Best goals against average by a starter is going to be Bobrovsky, though, with a 263. All right. Any goalie goals this season? No goalie goals this season. Last year, Hellebuck had a goal, though. Most assists was Bobrovsky and Wolfstead with 4 each. Best rookie this season was Matt Savoy in not Montreal. Why am I saying Montreal? Edmonton with 55. Mackie Samoskevich had 48 points. Frondell finishes 3rd in rookie points. So he might have been a finalist, but obviously Savoy is going to take it unless they give it to Samoskevich because of his plus-minus. So there is all that. Now the question is, who are we playing in our first ever playoff series? Is it going to be a team that we could beat? Because we have not been in the playoffs at this stage. Montreal, oh boy. We have home ice advantage though because we won the Metropolitan Division. Montreal was a much better team than us this season. but they did not win their division because of how tight the Atlantic was. So in terms of the playoff matchups, just in case you guys wanted to see this, let me remove my face here from the screen. You can see it's Edmonton and Utah, Vancouver, LA, Colorado, Minnesota, Nashville, Dallas. Then in the East, it's Toronto, Buffalo, Florida, Boston, Carolina, New Jersey, and us and the Habs. So yeah, that Atlantic division is pretty scary. A lot of good teams from the Atlantic. We're one of only 3 teams in the Metro that's in the playoffs. So now we got to take a look at what the Habs are looking like. But first and foremost, how did they simulate during the season? We know that they had a good record. Actually, does it have a head-to-head thing on the side thing on here? I think it does. Yeah, it does, actually. That's nice because I don't even need to go change screens. Normally, I had to compare this by myself. Now we don't have to. In terms of the regular season, you can see goals for per game. They were actually worse offensively than us. They scored 3.37 to our 3.43. They were a little bit better defensively, so we're pretty even in goals for and goals against. Power play, we were pretty even as well. We were 5th, they were 7th. And then their penalty kill was a lot better than ours at 10th. Ours was 17th. So we're kind of similar teams. Cole Caulfield led them in points during the regular season with 98 to Bo Horvat's 93. So that's kind of close. Yeah, that's going to be a close series based on those things, at least. I think this is the first time the Islanders and the Habs have probably played each other in the playoffs since back in like the era when the Montreal Canadiens and the Islanders were both really stacked teams. It's got to be a long time since these two teams have played each other. Probably since the early 90s or late 80s, something like that. But this should be still a really great matchup. Now the question is, what does the lineup look like? Because I don't know if they made any additions since the start of this franchise mode. Obviously, we know they have Caulfield because he led them in points, but did they bring in any other faces here to Montreal? First line, I know Habs fans are going to be drilling over to Slavkovsky, Suzuki, Caulfield. Yeah, that's a really tough top line. Second line, a healthy Patrick Laine with Alex Newhook and Tanner Pearson. That's a Montreal team for you. When your top lines look good, yeah, shout out to all these 5 guys, but then you have Tanner Pearson randomly there. Yeah, Tanner Pearson's not a second line player. He's listed as a 4th liner, so that's a bit of a weakness there for sure. Josh Anderson with Kirby Dach and Joel Armia, so that's a pretty solid 3rd line, I would say. I mean, Kirby Dach could probably be in that top 6, but I don't know where they would slot him in. Like, if I was the AI, I'd probably move Newhook over to the left wing because he's already listed as a center/left winger. Move Dach to play in that middle spot. And then Tanner Pearson could probably play with, like, yeah, Anderson and somebody else. I don't even know exactly, but, And the 4th line of Raphael Harvey-Pinard, Jake Evans, who we could have looked to bring in. So that's kind of an interesting. And Joshua Waugh. All right. Yeah, it's a pretty good balanced forward group. Like, I mean, they are a little bit weak on the left side, but in terms of depth, they are definitely pretty strong. Defensively, Matheson and Shillington. So Shillington's playing on that top pairing. That's kind of insane. So they do have a top 6 defender playing on the top pairing, but they also do have a very solid one in Matheson. Second pairing, Lane Hudson with Justin Barron, and a top 6 pairing of David Savard and Caden Gooley. So the right side definitely isn't as strong as their left side. That's for sure. That's for sure. In terms of their goaltending, Samuel Montembeault and Caden Primo. Yikes. Montembeault had a pretty good year. We saw 919 last year, 913. Have they been in the playoffs yet at this point? Yes, they have, actually. Yeah, they were last season, and he wasn't very good. So hopefully that continues. In terms of scratches, Alex Barré-Boulet, Jack Johnson, Brendan Gallagher's on the bench, diving his way to the bench. It's funny. Yeah, it's going to be a tough team. Definitely a tough first ever playoff matchup, but I definitely think it's going to be a close one based on the regular season stats. Like, I don't know what the overall comparison is. Like, if we go to play next game here, yeah, I don't care about our AHL affiliate game. I do want to take a look at the rating comparison. So we are a 89, 92, 91. They are a 94. What else did that say? It moves so quick that I can't even tell. Let's see. So he said a 94, 88, 83. 94, 88, 83. So technically, we have them on defense. They have us on offense, and we have them in goaltending. So we are a better defensive team. They're more offensively minded. That's going to be one hell of a matchup, I think, going forward. So there is that. And I think that's all we want to do in this episode. I don't think there's anything else we need to prime up for the playoffs. I don't think so. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our New York Islanders franchise mode. So next episode, we will take it to our first playoff series as we take on the Montreal Canadiens. And look to pretty much upset them. They were a really good team. Obviously, they weren't the best in the Atlantic Division. That's why we have the home ice advantage. But it's still going to be a tough task. We are pretty even in pretty much mostly every category. So I think it's just going to come down to if our defensive play can beat out their offense or vice versa. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.